All right, so I'm gonna try out a new video series. I'm not gonna edit any of this stuff, so we're just gonna wing it kind of like it's live, and hopefully you like it. So what I'm gonna do in this video series is talk about graphics I've designed, maybe show some techniques, show the background, show the inspirations, show some of the sketches, that sort of thing, so you can get an idea of my process, how I work. Right now, I work on a MacBook Pro. I've got a previous generation iPad. I keep the iPad in. The reason it looks so weird, I keep it in night shift mode just for less blue light to kind of fry your brain and disrupt your sleep later on in the day. So, anyway, I'm just gonna kind of show you exactly how I work. Probably hear some kids in the background, cars driving around, that sort of thing. But anyway, I'm not going to edit it because I don't have time. So I'm just going to show you my process and hope you like it. So this is a graphic from the Skull Collection, and this is available. What I do is I make these graphics for people that make t-shirts and hats and that sort of thing. And you can change out the text. It comes with all the fonts. You can pull apart pieces depending on the graphic. You can recolor it. And these are compatible with Photoshop, Illustrator, CorelDRAW, and Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo. The Arch text will not work if you try to open these in Procreate. Eventually, I think we'll probably get Canva compatibility because Canva bought Affinity. What else am I going to tell you here? So anyway, yeah. So these, I'll show you how I make the graphics, but if you want to cut to the chase and actually just get the graphic to print for yourself on your t-shirts or hats or whatever, those are available on thevectorlab.com. So this is the Skull Collection. It's got 25 graphics, and the specific one I'm going to show you here is this one. The reason I wanted to show you this is because, I don't know, I just remember the drawing in perspective, and so you'll never see this if I, if I do a screen replay, but what you can do is, where am I going here? Oh, you go to Canvas, hence the no editing part. So what you can do is go to Drawing Guide, and by default you'll just get a square grid, but what I have here is a perspective grid, and there's a vanishing point. It's probably really hard to see. There's a vanishing point over here where these lines converge. This is your horizon line, and then there's a vanishing point over here. So anything you draw in perspective, it's usually like a 2-point perspective. There's also what's called a 3-point perspective. There's a 1-point perspective. But anyway, that's the perspective grid I used. And I don't know, I almost don't want to mess it up by showing you, but what you do is when you go to this drawing guide, you go edit drawing guide. Oh, there we go. Now you can see it. So we've got these 2 points right here. There's the vanishing point going this way, and the vanishing point going that way. Well, so we could actually, move these around for a different perspective, but I'm just going to cancel that. Anyway, so that's a little trick if you're drawing pretty much anything that you want it to look sort of more three-dimensional. Works really well for drawing cars and boxes, like kind of all your basic kind of drawing skills you learn in art school. So anyway, the way, let's go, actually, you know what? I can go back to the, I think I had started to use a different snake there just from a previous graphic. This real sketchy part right here is it's like a very small thumbnail sketch I had drawn in pencil just on a piece of paper, took a photo of it, brought it into Procreate. And you can see here I'm kind of roughing out this design. Actually, we can skip around and go back and forth, I think. Yeah, so there's drawing the scales. I have a little trick for that. Maybe I'll show you. But when you're drawing this kind of style, you really have to think about how things wrap around. You have to think about that perspective. You have to think about cast shadows. Oh, where am I going here? Oh, there we go. So right there you can see the shadow from the skull casting onto the snake. And I don't know. I think that's really boring if I just show you exactly how I draw these things, but maybe I'll show you, I probably won't do it today, but I'll show you some tricks for drawing line work and stuff in Procreate. This is how I typically work. I think this app only works on iPad, so I have an iPad Pro here. It's the previous iPad Pro. It's not the new one. And I think it works amazing. So if you're looking to get into this, you could just buy a used iPad Pro, previous generation. Probably save some bucks if you want to get started a little earlier without sinking a bunch of cash. What else can I show you here? Oh, I draw in layers, and I usually don't do this, but I group these layers. So actually, let's go to the computer screen, and I'll show you how the final image is set up. So the way I work is I try to leave everything layered for people that are buying these templates. So let's say someone said, I just don't want the snake, I want the skull. So I've got the snake line work, the snake fill, even got a cast shadow that's going on the skull right there that you can take off. And there's also the snake part below, and then there's the ground shadow. So if you just wanted to use the skull, you could do that. So you can change all these colors, that sort of thing. You can also change out the text like that, super easy. You can move these text paths around. You could get rid of them if you don't want them. Obviously, you're not going to want to have the Vector Lab on your shirt or your hat or whatever kind of graphic you're making. What else can I show you? I don't want to keep these too long, but I don't want them to be too short. Let me show you a little trick for the snake scales, because if you look here, you can see how where these lines intersect, it's real kind of hard angles. And then if you look in my final graphic, it's more rounded. So see how that works? So instead of going in there by hand and kind of drawing out each corner, got a little trick. So let's, I'll show you kind of my vectorization process too. What we can do here, let's share this. We'll export it as a PSD right to my computer. And there we go. Now turn Wi-Fi off just so I wouldn't get a bunch of notifications. Turn on Wi-Fi. There we go. Okay, so that's in my computer. What I'll do is I'll just open up this PSD right in Photoshop. And let's see, this is 2023 Photoshop. I I have 2024, but I don't know. I find like sometimes you find little bugs and stuff, so it's good to kind of use the previous version. So this is the file directly from Procreate. It's not that template. So I've got a bunch of kind of like extra layers and groups I had drawn in here. So let's get rid of all this. I think that's extra. Oh wait, no, it's not. Let me just show you the snake thing. I drew this graphic like a year and a half ago, so I'm still trying to remember how it's set up. Let's just turn off the skull graphic there. You know what? Maybe let's just do the whole thing, because I have other videos where I show how I keep all this stuff in layers. So here we go. So let's Command A or Control A if you're on a PC to select all, and then Command Shift C, copy merged. So that copies everything, the background, all the little pieces. And let's make a new document. And I always work with a 4000 by 4000 pixel file here. And let's just paste that in. So 4000 by 4000 pixels is good because it's not too much and it's not too little as far as memory required and copying and pasting, that sort of thing. So we'll just make a duplicate of this layer. And what I'll do here is we'll go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. Hey, how's it? Thank you. That was a pest control guy. So let's just blur this, say like 4.4 pixels. And if I zoom in here, you can see how that's really blurred out, but let's go Image Adjustments Threshold. And wow, look at that. All those scales are nice and rounded. So that's a really good trick if you have a lot of kind of angular stuff and you want it rounded. And you can play with this threshold level, kind of more or less. And let's zoom out, make sure the rest of it, yeah, the rest of it looks pretty good. So anyway, this is all flattened. So this isn't how I usually go layer by layer to turn this to vector, but since this is a quick tutorial, this is just flattened. And now what I'll do is just Command A, select all again. And then since this is just one single layer, let's go Command C. So you don't have to use the Command Shift C for copy merged. And then let's go into Adobe Illustrator. That's the template I showed you before, but let's make a new document and just paste it in there. And you could scale it up or you could zoom in, whatever. I'm just gonna zoom in. And let's go Image Trace. And I usually just use the default settings. They're pretty decent. And I have the paths kind of hidden right now, so let's, oh, I have to expand it first. Sorry about that. So you can hide Command or Control H or unhide the paths if you want to kind of see how it's looking. You know, there's settings you can put in Image Trace, and everybody always like, you should tell it to delete the white background. Well, it's super easy to delete the white background, so I don't really bother. So what I'm doing here is I just selected some of that white, and then I have a shortcut for select same fill color, and let's hit delete. So now you just have that black art. And the other thing I do, actually, which I think a lot of other people probably wouldn't do, is see how there's like a lot of wasted vector points. If you're drawing something super sketchy and you want to show the texture, you could leave your detail in there. But I like to kind of make it real kind of clean and crisp depending on the graphic. It just makes it easier for people to work with if they're going to edit this graphic. Like if you're like, oh, I just want the snake head, and you go in there and use some of the vector tools in Illustrator or Affinity or Corel to kind of just separate that snake head. It's just easier to manipulate things when there's less points. And Illustrator is, it's pretty darn good these days for simplifying paths and that sort of thing. So let's go to Object, Path, Simplify, and you see how it cuts out a lot of those vector points. Let me hide that and then just kind of toggle a undo and a redo. So it changes a little bit, but I think it actually looks better with it kind of smoothed out. So there you go. There's a little bit of my process. I'm going to try to kind of do these once a week. Before I started having kids, I was doing a lot of YouTube videos and I really fell off. I'm like, I don't have time. But if I do it like this, I have time because it only takes me, I don't know, however many minutes we've been recording. So that's it, and have a look out for the next one, and hope you like these very raw graphic design demonstrations. Thanks for watching.